So hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Dream Interpretation, where I interpret your guys' dreams that you send me. So in today's video, I actually got a dream from James, and I just want to say, if you guys would like to send me your dreams, make sure to send it to me at my email, which is dreaminterpretation2020@gmail.com. I'll have it right here, and it's also in the description. And if you guys do want to send me your dreams, make sure to check that description, because in the description I have a checklist of what to include in your email. The other thing I like to mention real quick is actually that the names I use in this videos aren't the real person's names, and I do that so I can protect the person's identity, since dreams can be very personal. So let's get started with the video. So I was in a funeral and several of my relatives died. My grandfather died, but before him somebody else had recently passed, and it was my uncle. And in the end, it was also my grandmother. Then my dad arrived to the funeral, and he looked very big, and he looked physically fit. My dad also looked very young, like about 40 years old, and he was like more than 180 centimeters tall. But I think my current room was in my mom's room, where it was always my room. But in the dream, I was in my grandfather's room, where I'm currently staying at. And in my dream, suddenly my dad went up to the second floor by the outside staircase next to the room, and he saw me through the window. And then when my dad saw me from the stairs, I don't know how, but he fit through this little window to my room, and he entered right away. And as soon as he entered, and he noticed that my quilt was dirty, and he grabbed it and shook it, and suddenly a bunch of dust fell off the quilt. I saw that it was filthy, and then I kind of apologized to my dad and hugged him in my dream. And I noticed he was a lot bigger compared to real life, because I noticed that my head reached his chest level. And I started crying and letting off steam because of everything that had happened, and the deceased, but also because I had to cry. And then I woke up crying. All right, so that's an awesome dream. So what Holy Spirit is actually showing me is that the dream started with you being in a funeral, and you said that your three relatives just passed. So you said that your grandfather passed, but he already passed in real life. But in the dream, he had just recently passed, and then after it was your grandmother and your uncle. So Holy Spirit is actually showing me that those three relatives are a representation of the generational spirits that were affecting you in a season. So in a previous season, in a time, you were just basically overcame all of these generational spirits that were the same spirits that were affecting not only you, but also those three relatives. And now Holy Spirit actually shows me outside of the dream that it's actually your mother's family. So these three spirits that were affecting you, and also your three relatives, these generational spirits that were affecting you, include fear, arrogance, and anger. And so, yeah, these are the three things. So this is just what Holy Spirit is showing me about your life, not just about the dream, right? And so after you said that your dad showed up at the funeral, but you didn't speak to him, but you did see him, and you noticed that he was like physically fit, physically strong, right? And also he looked really young. He looked like he was 40. And also he looked really tall. So Holy Spirit is showing me that in that moment, Holy Spirit was basically showing you how your dad was looking, how your dad looks in the spirit. So in the dream, Holy Spirit is showing you your dad in a different way that you haven't seen him. And so that basically shows me that, that personally you don't really respect your father, right? This is outside of the dream. Holy Spirit is showing me that you don't really respect your father. And so in the dream, Holy Spirit was actually showing your dad how, in a new way, right? In the way that you should actually be seeing your dad. So then after you said that you were in your mom's room, which used to be your room when you were a kid, but then all of a sudden you were in your grandfather's room, which is actually in the room that you're actually staying at the moment. So then after you were in your room, you saw from the outside, and the outside stairs leading up to the roof, you saw your dad through this little window. And all of a sudden your dad passed through this little window and was in your room. And then after you said that he basically looked at your quilt and said that it was really dirty. And so then after your dad basically just shook the quilt, and you realized that, wow, it was dirty. So Holy Spirit in this instance, so in this part of the dream, your dad is an example of the Holy Spirit, is basically showing you that you just overcame this season, overcoming these generational spirits that were affecting you, but also during this time you were also sinning, right? So that's why the blanket was all dirty. That was also a significance of the passing of time. So Holy Spirit is showing you that during this season, the same season that you basically were overcame the generational spirits, you also were sinning. And so Holy Spirit was bringing that to your attention again, right? Because it was something important. And so all of a sudden in the dream, you said that you felt really bad. You basically started apologizing. You're like, I'm sorry, Dad. In reality, I'm sorry, Holy Spirit, our spiritual father. I'm sorry for doing that. And you basically started crying. And because you had just overcome that season, right, of learning, right, of also overcoming these generational spirits that were affecting your family. But not only that, but also sinning, right? The sin that was in your life during the same season. And so that's what the significance with the quilt and how he shook it and all of the dust came out. So he was just reminding you of what you just overcame. So that's the interpretation of the dream. Thank you so much, James, for sending me your dream. I hope that it brings you insight on what Holy Spirit was showing you through this dream. And for everyone else watching, if, like I said in the beginning, if you guys would like to send me your dreams, make sure to send to me at dreaminterpretation2020@gmail.com. And like I said, also check in the description because I have a checklist of what to include in your dream. So if you like the video, make sure to leave a like, share the video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you never miss a video. And I also like to thank James again for sending me his dream. And so yeah, that's the end of the video, and that's the interpretation. And so thanks for watching, and God bless.